Tonight, developments in the recovery of 2 Degrees boss Eric Hertz and his wife. Tonight, developments in the recovery of 2 Degrees boss Eric Hertz and his wife Kathy as Navy divers have discovered a body in the wreckage of the plane which crashed into the sea off the coast of Kawhia 1 week ago.
The operation is continuing in regard to locating the second body and ultimately returning the aircraft to the surface.
It was Easter Saturday this year that a plane piloted by 2 Degrees boss Eric Hertz, carrying his wife Kathy, ditched off the Waikato coast. It was a mission that pushed the Navy's elite dive team to the limit and came close to claiming the life of one of their own.
I was the only person down there with Dutchie, so I didn't want to screw it up.
At the time we didn't know what was going to appear on the surface, who was going to appear on the surface.
I was just telling him to hang in there and just to keep breathing.
And I wanted to do the best I could and get him back alive.
Tarana Faulkner and Alan Holland, or Dutchie, were 2 of 8 divers sent to the scene.
I got a call from one of the supervisors to say that the plane's crashed.
Warrant Officer diver Simon Marston was the on-scene commander.
When the task came in, as sad as the purpose was, it gave us a purpose and a goal to go and get Kathy and Eric out.
But the plane was sitting 56 metres below the surface, past their normal diving threshold. They also had to contend with strong currents, sharks, and the risk of diver entanglement in the wreckage. Did you have any nerves or reservations about diving that deep?
Nah, not at all really. I guess you've done all this in training before and it's sort of just another dive that you do.
At first, the operation went well. The body of Kathy Hertz was pulled to the surface, but to get to Eric, they needed to raise the plane. And what was your task?
Mine was to put strops around the plane and hook that up onto the ship's crane.
The men were taking turns diving in pairs. 22-year-old Dutchie was teamed up with Petty Officer diver Dan Reynolds. What are you seeing? What are you hearing?
As you're going down, it gets darker and darker, and you do have comms to the surface, so you're reporting everything you're doing and everything you see and stuff like that.
They reached the bottom after a textbook descent.
So they'd just gone on and gone out to the aircraft, which was about 12 metres away from the bow. And then I would just listen out for them telling me that they're on task and doing what I've asked them to do.
But Dutchie and Dan were about to face one of the most harrowing moments of their lives. When did you first realise that something was wrong?
I was looking for places to put the strops around the plane. From there, something went wrong. Don't know what exactly. And then I knew that I needed to get back to the bow.
Dutchie's helmet had filled with water 56 metres below the surface. In near zero visibility, he ran for the dive bell where there is an emergency air supply. What kicked in? Panic, instinct, training?
A bit of everything, really. Obviously, training kicked in straight away, and I knew exactly what I needed to do to get out. And a bit of instinct and a bit of adrenaline helped me do that as well. Yeah.
As Dutchie attempted to clear the emergency breathing mask, he fell unconscious. Dan had no idea his mate was in trouble.
I positioned Dutchie when we started the task. I did my job at the other end of the wing, at which point I couldn't see him. And when I came back to where he was, I thought he might have been working on something else.
On the ship, Marston heard Dutchie radio he was on a backup air supply.
He should have been at the aircraft at that point, so I knew that there was a disparity in where these guys were. They should have been together. So I now know that one's by the aircraft and one's at the bell. And I talked to Dan, who was diver 1, and told him to get back to the bell as soon as he could.
I saw Dutchie in the bell unconscious.
What were you doing?
I was panicking. I think it's just a natural reaction, but that's where the training also kicks in, and although I'm panicking, I'm still carrying out the drill and thinking and doing what I can to keep him alive.
I remained on the communications to Dan just to give him some support, because it's a long 3-minute ride to the surface when there's very little he can do, you know, and very little I can do.
Everyone's wanting it to come up faster, but it's at a controlled speed, so there's nothing you can do.
Faulkner is Dutchie's best mate. They met in 2010 during diver selection and have been inseparable ever since. How close are you guys?
We live across the road from each other. We've got the same dogs. We go to work together. We go to the gym together. We're pretty close, eh?
That bond amplifying Faulkner's fear as he heard something had gone horribly wrong.
I don't know, I sort of didn't really think it was real. So it never happens. It's always simulated and exercise, but we got him in anyway. I didn't know who it was. It was either Dan or Dutchie. So, yeah, but it didn't sound good. So everyone was sort of just getting their game face on.
By the time Dutchie reached the surface, it's believed he'd been without oxygen for close to 3.5 minutes.
When we first saw him, he didn't look good.
And he's not responsive?
Nah.
He was cyanosed, which is blue around the face, the lips, his extremities, which indicates that there's a lack of oxygen in his system, and he wasn't conscious when we got him out of the bell.
Because the divers were rushed to the surface, they didn't take compression stops needed to avoid the bends. But HMNZS Manawanui is equipped with a life-saving chamber for emergencies. If you come up and you don't take your stops, do you lie on this side and you get taken back down again?
Yeah. So if you're a patient, we'd lie you flat in here and put you back on O2.
And you could attend from there?
Yep.
Check us okay?
Yep.
Faulkner was the most recently qualified dive medic on ship, so was put in charge of his best mate in the chamber. Dutchie was struggling for oxygen. They were locked in here together for more than 2 hours.
Oh, it's hard, eh? You don't like to see your mate like that.
What were you saying to him?
I was just telling him to hang in there and just to keep breathing and to keep sucking on the oxygen because it was good for him.
How long was it until you got a positive response?
It would have been maybe an hour into it, and someone said something over the comms. They was like, "Is Dutchie well?" And Dutchie sort of raised his thumbs up. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, he's good. He's back."
Dutchie was airlifted off the Manawanui. His memory of the ordeal remains limited.
I don't actually remember anything.
Anything except that at 56 metres below the surface, his helmet filled with water.
It was an unusual incident in that in 30 years of diving, I've not seen one of these types of helmet flood before, if that was the cause.
Investigations are now underway by the New Zealand Defence Force, the Navy and OSH as to what went wrong.
When we have those findings, then we'll look at our procedures and see if there's anything we need to improve.
Despite the life and death drama, the very next day the divers regrouped. They descended, tasked with retrieving the plane and its pilot. At 3:41 p.m, their mission was complete. The plane emerged, and with it, Eric Hertz.
Obviously, after what happened with Dutchie, things run through your mind and you think, oh, is it worth it? But at the end of the day, this is what we train for, and that's why we put on all the hard hours through training to carry out these sort of tasks.
With Eric and Kathy's bodies returned, the family was able to hold a funeral. The divers were honoured to receive an invitation to the ceremony.
When their daughter got up, that was pretty, it's good to see that she got to say goodbye. It's pretty rough.
And months on, a world away in Washington, D.C., Eric's brother Eli, a former US Navy officer, told 60 Minutes he thinks of the divers often.
I was able to meet them as they came off the boat, the Coast Guard boat that shuttled them in from the recovery location. I was able to shake every person's hand and look them face to face and say thank you. That was probably the most important thing for me to do on behalf of the family, and it was an honor to do so.
Eric and Kathy's only daughter, Ari, is just 24, the same age as Faulkner. She was able to thank the men who brought back the bodies of her parents.
I understand that the mission goes on, and it goes on in a different place. So I think about them because I know they're probably out there right now doing it again for somebody else.
Somebody else and each other.
It's a brotherhood of sorts.
Yeah, we're always doing hard things together and pushing each other, and you got to be tight, and the key thing is trust, eh? Like, you have to trust each other, and you know, of course you're going to be tight if you've got that much trust in someone.
In April this year, the nation watched as Navy divers recovered the plane containing the bodies of 2 Degrees boss Eric Hertz and his wife Kathy from the seafloor off the Waikato coast. The men tasked with that mission weren't chosen lightly.
Hurry up, Dutchie! Probably some people just mentally aren't like tough enough, I guess. And then some people it's just a physical thing, like their body just breaks down.
It is no mean feat to get into the dive team. Behind the SAS, it's arguably the most gruelling Defence Force testing. 27-year veteran Lieutenant Commander Trevor Leslie is in charge.
Diving and operating in an environment that's alien to everyone else, you know, our office is under the water, so some people just don't like that. So we need people that can think clearly under pressure, literally, but also people that can problem solve and have robust mental attitudes and mental agility.
Diver selection involves 4 months of testing. Some weeks, applicants dive through the night training in the Waitemata Harbour. They won't sleep for days at a time. The sleep deprivation designed to see which applicants can complete dangerous tasks under extreme fatigue.
At the end of the day, they're on the bottom, and any mistake they make, they wear that mistake forever.
During diver selection, they must run everywhere. Walking is banned.
If you don't want to be there, you probably won't make it through. And yeah, the boys that want it, they'll get through and sort of reap the rewards afterwards.
On average, just 3 men survive the testing each year.
Can you tell from your gut whether someone's got it in them?
Generally speaking, yes.
The selection and further training is designed to build the team. They come from all walks of life, all over the country, but soon come to rely on each other.
We get put in pressure situations together where you got to look after each other and work hard for one another, and that just brings you closer. And then, you know, after we've done all the hard work, we'll go out and get amongst it together and, you know, work hard, play hard, eh?
It's late May and this is the dive team's last night together. Half the unit will fly to San Diego to take part in war games with elite US Navy forces. The other half travels to the Solomon Islands on an explosives operation. The commander is familiar with goodbyes, going overseas 17 times just last year. He appreciates the job takes its toll on family and relationships, particularly after incidents like Dutchie's.
At first they're just worried about me, but now I guess they're just worried about me going back diving again, you know.
Oh, they're all right, eh? They're just proud. I think Mum gets a bit iffy sometimes, but it's just because she doesn't know.
A natural reaction when you consider some of their assignments. We join Faulkner in the Solomon Islands. Sitting northeast of Australia, it's the setting for Operation Pukarua. Supported by HMNZS Wellington and Manawanui, it's a New Zealand Defence Force operation designed to rid South Pacific Islands of explosive remnants of war. Its beauty masks what was once a volatile conflict zone. In World War II, the Allies and Japanese fought heavily here. 90,000 were killed.
before we get into the brief, we'll dive as well to dive.
Bombs that litter these islands and the reef soffit have been maiming and killing residents here for 70 years. The divers are charged with finding those explosives and detonating them.
Hazards out there, okay, yeah, there are saltwater crocs in the area, sharks.
Chief Petty Officer Diver Rangi Ehu leads today's task.
Positions for today's dive. Diver 1, controlling diver is you, Faulkner.
Each morning they build a charge made up of plastic explosives and detonation cord.
So we're just moulding all the slabs of P4 together to make like one big charge. And that's just so there's all good contact between the explosives, and so it's more likely to detonate and give us a good bang.
I want the charge placed on the rear of the bomb, over the boosters, so we've got more chance of a sympathetic detonation.
They leave for their destination. In this operation, they may be assigned to bombs underwater or on land. Today, locals have helped steer the divers to where some of the bombs are known to lie off the island.
3, 2, 1. So just place this on the booster at the back.
I'm about to get a rare insight into the underwater world of the ODT. We locate the 1,000-pound bomb thrown out of an American plane during World War II. It's packed full of explosives. The charge is laid and then the detonation cord is carefully run along the ocean floor. One diver is assigned the perilous task of completing the circuit.
I'll hand this whole thing to Faulkner. He'll swim it over, and the deck cord that's coming up, he'll put through there, and then he'll just pull down like that, and that's a circuit made.
But before you get in the water, you're thinking about everything, and I don't know, you're a bit more on edge, but once you're just in there, it's just, everything just happens naturally, sort of. Just because of all the training we do in the water and we're always in there, you just switch on, I guess.
Stingray, this is Blast 1 Maritime connecting up, over.
Stingray, main, roger out.
It's now ready to fire. The unit clears the area and retreats.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stand by, firing.
Their explosive skills take them around the world, disarming bombs near oil pipelines in the Middle East, to land-based operations in Afghanistan, to training with Navy SEALs in San Diego.
Not many people sort of know what we really do. A lot of people just see us around base running around doing PT and that.
Their next job involves a land-based detonation. 1,500 explosives were discarded in this lagoon. It's their job to destroy them. By the time this month-long exercise is over, 4 tons of unexploded bombs, mortars, projectiles and grenades will be destroyed.
Right, just put in the address to the receiver, and now all we need to do is transmit and then fire. So hold this one down, push that up for us.
Firing. Job well done.
The perks of this job aren't hard to see, but it's not for the faint-hearted. Whether it's destroying bombs or recovering wreckage, it's a process of calculating risk.
Risk is all about perspective, and for us, we're well trained, well equipped. We have a strong sense of unit identity and unit loyalty. Our whole ethos is not to let your mate down.
It's good to know that it's risky too, because then you know, keep your wits about you. If you take stuff easy, then that's when, I don't know, things might go wrong.
And even in the Solomon Islands, the 2 Degrees operation is never far from their minds.
For some of the younger guys, I think it's a good lesson. And it reinforces what we're saying to them all the time and what we know, that it is inherently dangerous, and we are accepting that risk personally.
Dutchie, left behind at Devonport Naval Base, understands that all too well. It's more than 3 months since he was pulled from the water unconscious. Today, he will face his fear and get back in the water for the first time.
I've just never been one to let something get to me. So just sort of get on and do it.
He suits up using the same model of helmet used in the 2 Degrees operation, the same helmet that flooded.
So I'm just going to double check his gear and just make sure that I think it's correct before he gets in the water.
With his rescuer Dan Reynolds running the test and Faulkner by his side, the tight-knit team watches anxiously. He's being tested to see if he can return to duty under the water.
Yep, put him in when you're ready.
They're into water.
Test for leaks.
They cut his main air supply, checking he can switch to his backup.
Diver 1, your main supply is back on again. Close bail out. Understood.
He passes with flying colours.
I think you have to be confident in what you're doing. And because I guess if you're telling yourself it's too hard, you're not going to be able to do it, then you probably won't. Probably won't be able to do it. But then if you're going to it confident, and just sort of back yourself, because I know we've all done that training and will prove to everyone that you can be here. So I guess if you back yourself and be confident, it'll just happen. Yeah.
And you've still got it?
I think so, yeah. Yep.